Welcome to another edition of the season player preview here on PHNX Suns. Gerald Bourget, Saul Bookman. Let's get into Jalen Smith. Didn't have much of an impact last year. Didn't play hardly at all last year. So stats-wise, probably not much to talk about.
No, if you look at his stats from last year, it's like 2 points per game. He averaged less than 6 minutes a game, and he only played in 27 of them. So not a huge impact for Jalen Smith. The hope is that this year, based on what he was able to do in Summer League, maybe he'll be able to find somewhere where he can make an impact, because he did put up numbers at least in Summer League.
Well, let's get to those stats right now. His Summer League stats, Gerald, I know you're ready. What did you see from Jalen Smith stat-wise that leads you to believe that he might be able to have an impact on this year's Suns team?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the numbers, 16 points and 12.5 rebounds a game is pretty solid. He led Summer League in rebounding, which is impressive for a guy that's kind of vacillated between the 4 and the 5 for this team. He also shot 35.7% from 3, which led Summer League in big man 3-point percentage. So that's kind of impressive. The downfall is that he only shot 36.5% overall. So he was still leaving fans wanting a little bit as far as what he can do production-wise. I think the biggest thing that we saw from him in Summer League and even in training camp and preseason was that when you put him at the 5, he's a lot better there. So you're kind of, that's rough for him, because if you look at the Suns depth chart, the 5 is pretty stacked. They've got Ayton, they've got JaVale McGee, they've even got Frank Kaminsky, who can also play the 4. So it's going to be difficult to see where Jalen Smith fits in best and where he might actually get minutes on this team.
Every time I think of Jalen Smith, I just don't see 5. Like, I just don't feel 5. But if he plays better at the 5, then, I mean, who am I to judge, right? Like, as long as the production is there, that's all you want. DA has forever said that he prefers playing the 4 position rather than the 5. So
Right.
maybe, and I think this is what Suns fans have kind of gone to when they go with Jalen Smith, is maybe there's going to be some situations down the road where DA and Jalen Smith might be on the court at the same time. I think those are lofty hopes.
Yeah.
I don't see that coming to fruition, especially not in games where, you know, you got to win. You got to win every game in the NBA. Every game that you can win, you need to take advantage of, because you never know. You know, last year they were 1 game behind Utah. Who knows if they get one other game that changes things? They're the number 1 seed. And who knows what how the playoffs unfold at that point. But you know, when Jalen Smith is looking for playing time, you got to look across the board. I think the 4 position is probably the most likely spot for him to be able to find minutes, because the Suns do have a bit of a deficiency there.
Right. I think for this upcoming season, the 4 is probably his easiest avenue to getting minutes. It's tough for him because, you know, we've heard him say and Monty say during these preseason games that, like, he's most comfortable as a 5. That's kind of the position he grew up playing. And Monty even says, you know, defensively, he looks a lot more comfortable there when he's not having to guard some of these like rangier wings, like these small ball 4s. But like we said, there's just really no avenue for him to get minutes at the 5. DA doesn't suddenly have this 3-point shot that makes him a stretch 4. And he's so much better as a 5 anyway. So we really don't want to feed that beast at this point. But let's make a bold prediction for Jalen Smith for this season. You know, his ceiling is a guy who can actually log backup minutes at the 5 behind or beyond JaVale McGee's tenure. My bold prediction is that he is the backup 5 of the future for the Suns.
Ooh, okay.
Which unfortunately is not a great use of a top 10 pick.
No, not even a little bit. No, I can see where James Jones was going with the Jalen Smith pick. It's just, I think by the time Jalen Smith gets the opportunity to actually shine or starts to shine, I think it'll be at a point where it's going to be too late for the Suns to really get involved in contract talks with him specifically. I think Jalen Smith eventually will be on another team, whether it be this year or in a couple. I do believe that Jalen Smith past the 4-year mark will not be a Sun, because I feel like his development will lead him down that path, because he's going to need other opportunities somewhere else, and that's where he'll find them. Like, there's plenty of bad teams in the NBA. He would be well suited to play on one of those bad teams to continue to develop. So that's my bold prediction. I'm going to say this time Jalen Smith will not be a Sun by the end of this year. That's my bold prediction.
All right.
I think he will be involved in a trade.
Mm-hmm.
I think he will be part of a trade scenario, whether that be for a Thad Young or somebody else at some point. I think Jalen Smith inevitably will be playing for somebody else by season's end.
That's a good bold prediction. We've talked about Thad Young at length in the past, and we've seen the reports that the Suns were in talks. We've heard from our own Flex, that they were in talks for Thad Young and that he felt eventually would happen. So if it does happen, Jalen Smith is going to be first on the chopping block.
Talking nerdy.
Yes.
What did the analytics say about Jalen Smith outside of the fact that no matter where he is on the floor, he shoots the same?
Right. So the thing with Jalen Smith is that his sample size is really small from last year. He only played 156 minutes total. So it's hard to pick too many things apart. He's not very good about getting to the free throw line, but the biggest thing for me is that he projects so much better as a 5 than a 4 based on what the numbers were at these positions. And bear in mind, these are very small numbers, but he played 88% of his non-garbage time minutes at the 5, and he was a plus 3.5 in those minutes. In the other 12%, when he was playing the 4, he was a minus 8.2. So there's that's an 11-point swing right there. Obviously, again, super small sample sizes, and a lot of these, the garbage time minutes, the non-garbage time minutes were even smaller, but it just seems like everything points to him being more effective at center where he's more comfortable.
It's like a girl judging you on a first date in the first 5 minutes. You know what I mean? Is that really a good sample size? Probably not.
No. Give
him a little bit more of a chance, but I don't think the chance is going to be right there. It's going to be with somebody else, just like that first date might be with somebody else later on.
Exactly. So, sometimes you got to trust your gut.
Sometimes you got to trust your gut. That's absolutely right. And finally, before we say goodbye to you guys, scouting, the strengths on his scouting, big summer league, created optimism for himself, and then weaknesses. Can he find the opportunity on the floor? And if he does, can he make the most of it? Has to have a presence defensively and rebounding in order to stay on the floor. I think that basically sums it up for Jalen Smith. Would you have anything else to add to that?
No, I think the rebounding, we've seen that he can rebound, especially with those bench units. It's a matter of, can he guard 4s where he'll probably be playing, and can he shoot the 3 ball well enough to make up for his kind of deficiencies on that end?
We saw Cam, we saw Mikal have spots in their first year, but they got run because the Suns were not a very good team. Jalen Smith comes into the fold, CP3 comes into the fold at the same time, and just not a lot of opportunities because you have a lot of dudes on that team that can ball, and they're competing for a top seed in the Western Conference. This year, I think you'll start to see those Mikal Cam minutes from their first year in year 2 for Jalen Smith, and I'll be interested to see what he does with that. So we'll see. That is the player preview for Jalen Smith. Again, we have plenty of other player previews coming your way, so you can continue to follow us here on PHNX Suns.